Hello, welcome to episode 9 of Football is Life. Great to be back on camera today, speaking to you. Can't wait, it's too long since the last episode. We're looking at a good episode this week on Monday night. A big roundup from the weekend. We've got the FA Cup to talk about, which is a big thing from the weekend. Plenty of discussion around the FA Cup. Looking at a few other bits and pieces in the middle of that, including I think we need to talk a little bit about James Milner, who's obviously just equalled the record, the Premier League appearance record. A little bit about tactical football as well. Is it stifling a little bit of the creativity in English football? And then looking at some midweek games, we've got a mixture. We're going to delve a little bit into the Championship on the channel, which is the first time that we've really looked into a couple of games there. And we've also got the Champions League and English teams also in the Europa League and the Conference League, the Europa Conference League. So there's a little bit to get through, so we'll crack straight on. If you've not viewed before, welcome to the channel. I'm Craig. Football is Life. Episode 9 already. We've been going for a few weeks now. Really enjoying it. So dissecting football and really looking deep into topics that I want to give my opinion on and that people can get involved with. So let us know your thoughts. But yeah, loving it. And like, comment and subscribe. Come on. I say it every time. It's free to do. Really helps me. Come on and continue the journey of Football is Life. So yeah, I really appreciate any comments that you can, any likes, any follows or subscriptions. I'm on all the socials, so yeah, please check us out on them. Right, so straight into it. FA Cup roundup. Didn't got a lot of outcomes right, and we didn't expect a lot of shocks, did we, on the weekend? And so it proved to be. We looked to try and predict the kind of potential banana skins. We kind of said that Burton could have a squeak at doing something. Birmingham was the big one that I tipped up, but Leeds obviously went for on penalties. But one that, you know, the main shock, the only shock I actually think in the FA Cup the weekend was Mansfield going to Burnley and getting that result, which was just an incredible result for Mansfield Town. Burnley's been a tough place to go to for some Premier League teams this season, so you know it's no mean feat. I believe Mansfield as well won at Sheffield United, did they, in the last round? So what a cup run for the Stags. They're doing unbelievable, Mansfield, and booked their place in the fifth round. So incredible from them, and what a free kick that was to get the winner. An absolutely unbelievable goal from Mansfield. So they were the cup shock. They made their headlines, and what was interesting is the cup shocks are generally home teams, lower league home teams, making it difficult. I mean, look at Grimsby's pitch. I mean, that was a throwback, wasn't it? But, you know, on a dodgy pitch, a little bit more dodgy than what the Premier League players are used to playing on, and they can get caught out. But, no, fair play to Mansfield. Set up well. You know, they're a decent enough side, Mansfield, who have got goals in them, and so it proved. But a shocker for Burnley and Scott Parker. I know a lot of Burnley fans have been calling for Scott Parker to go, and you can kind of see why, maybe a little bit more now. They really wouldn't have expected to lose that, so rotation or not of players. But yeah, they got caught out on Saturday, and Mansfield take the headline. So big well done to Mansfield. Superb for the FA Cup, and we'll see who they get in the next round. But you wouldn't want to be going away to Mansfield in the next round if you were a bigger team, I don't think, because a really potential banana skin there. And also, while we're on, I actually caught some of the Man City Salford game on Saturday, but a big well done to Salford and Burton on Saturday. I thought, you know, Man City, we all predicted, City can score 7 or 8 again here. It's going to be one of them. But no, not at all. Salford gave a really good account of themselves. And in the second half, for a little period, it looked like they might get back on terms. Obviously, when City brought on Semenyo, that kind of changed everything, didn't it? Really, a little bit towards the end of the game, and Salford tired, but no sweep over at all. And Salford came out of that with a lot of credit, and again, a club that finally look like they've learned as they've gone through the leagues, and they even look better for it now, and they could go up again. I just thought they were brilliant at Man City and gave them a real good game, and fair play. And the same with Burton against, West Ham. I thought West Ham were massively under par in the first half, definitely, and were massively improved in the second half. Well, Burton didn't really threaten, didn't really get many opportunities and chances, and, West Ham kind of limited them, but it wasn't until very late in the game, second half they improved, but very late in the game where, taking them to extra time, where we saw that bit of Premier League quality from Somerville, and, a player of that quality just had a bit of room, and there we go, hey presto, the game was over. But big shout outs to them too. Their cup ends, their journey ends, but I think they gave Premier League clubs a really good test and a good game on the weekend. A quick one for Norwich. We got that right. Norwich, I think we got the scoreline right as well last week for Norwich. 2-1. I think it might have actually been 3-1. Did we say 3-1? I can't remember. But yeah, we backed the Norwich. We backed the Canaries. Doing brilliant under their new manager. And they continue their rise. They've been rising up the championship table. And yeah, a good result at home in the Cup. And another team you probably, with the form that they're on, they look like they're on the way back, Norwich, and another good win through to the next round, and it's another place that you probably wouldn't want to go. So well done to Norwich, safely through, and it'll be interesting to see who they get in the next round. Next one, a little look at, well, I'll tell you what it is one, and I've had to look at my book, is I watched this. It was Valentine's Day, wasn't it? So I was going out on Saturday evening for a meal, but I managed to catch the first half before I had to leave. I didn't see the second half, and I wasn't surprised in the end by the final scoreline. But the first half, Villa were just comfortable, and Newcastle had more of the ball, but Villa were comfy, looked more threatening, and it looked like it was going to be routine, like we thought it would be at Villa Park. What is the keeper Bezu doing? Like, what? I mean, now there's coming out and a player going round you and you just missing the ball or not quite getting there. But he's onside, he comes out. I mean, it's still 40 yards from goal, minimum, where if he stayed in his box, the ball was going out to the side. Like, he would have still had work to do, the forward. And he's just come out, he then realises he's not going to get there. And it's an absolute ludicrous mistake from the keeper. It's a shocker. It's cost Villa their cut place, going down to 10 men. But what about the challenges? If the striker's gone around, yeah, let him go and the players can come back, you've been done, or just stay in your penalty area. But to go then with this sort of knee-high, almost rash challenge, and do that on the stroke of half-time, at home in the Cup. I mean, even if you conceded and gone in at 1-1 at half-time, you still would have backed Villa probably as favourites at home. I mean, he's just absolutely ruined. Unai Emery must be fuming with that. Inwardly, he must have been like, that's rotation. I know Emi Martinez can be a bit highly strung, but would he have done that? A lot of these teams, do swap their goalie. I know James Trafford was great again, but a different example. But he's cost Villa there. He's cost them a chance of a trophy. Like, you're at this stage, you need to go for the trophy. Why do we have to rotate and things happen like that? But I just thought it was a ludicrous. I've had to talk about it because I just thought it was silly move. A rush of blood to the head, clearly. And he's just ruined it for his team there. And they're out of the Cup, and Newcastle, professional job, extra man, second half. And there we go, Newcastle go through, and, you wouldn't put it past them getting to Wembley once again in a semi-final minimum. Newcastle could get a good home draw. But, yeah, he ruined that for Villa, and I was in disbelief when I saw it live. I really couldn't believe what he'd done. So, yeah, not good at all. And then the last few, we got Liverpool. We said that it'd be a professional job there at home Saturday night. We did have Brighton down for a goal. They didn't quite do that, but Liverpool great, professional through. That they'll be a force in the FA Cup and one that everybody will want to avoid. But I mean, I just wanted to highlight as well Szoboszlai. I say Szoboszlai, but just his influence this season on that team has been remarkable. I mean, he's been quality for Liverpool, and they'd be far worse without him this year. And just again, his ball striking, the finish, and just his striking all season has been brilliant. And his play, his link-up play, his effort, desire, he really has looked a proper player and the real deal. Because I know he got some flack before, he's not had flack, but I've heard Jamie Carragher as well in the past saying that he thinks Liverpool can get a better player, in his role than him. And I know he's played some at right back, and they've obviously brought in Wirtz, but he just looks a quality player. He's been quality all season, so a big shout up for him again. He's been class, and Liverpool move on. Arsenal, another stroll. We said that it could be a stroll, and it was a stroll. Interestingly, first Premier League in history to score four. Not in history, since the Premier League, to score 4 in the first half an hour of a cup tie. So again, Arsenal making a bit more history there, and yeah, they were brilliant. Even with rotation, they just looked ruthless. Eze back playing looked a bit better to his best, with some great cutting through balls, and Jesus getting his goal. He didn't quite get the 3 that I thought he might, but got on the score sheet, and Arsenal looked professional and just. It's a nightmare for these lower league clubs going sometimes like that. Different to Salford done at Man City. Wigan did the opposite. They just kind of rolled over and the gap was too big. And then the last one is Leeds as well. We talked up Birmingham and we thought Birmingham could do it. Look, hey, they nearly did it. They were decent. I watched a lot of that first half. And they were the ones that were always probing at Leeds. And they looked really good, Birmingham. We got a few tidy new players. The lad up front looks strong, and so I think Leeds, with a little bit of rotation as well, which could have been a risk, have done well to come through that on penalties, because that could have easier been a banana skin. But yeah, unfortunate for Birmingham, but a good result for Leeds, and they go through. And that rounds up the FA Cup. So sorry if I've missed your team out. I know there were some other good results and some other good performances like Sunderland at Oxford and teams edging through, but they were the main ones for me this week. Another thing as well, just for the FA Cup, where the difference to the Premier League is, wasn't it nice not to have VAR? VAR. Was it nice or what? I prefer it. I mean, if a lino makes a mistake, if it got, it's going to happen. There was an argument that actually we're saying it's preventing in goals. Mainly it's preventing goals and situations, because we can bring it back and scrutinise if he's offside or onside. But it did work as well, where would there have been a red card for a player in the match in the Villa Newcastle game? There was an earlier challenge where it could have been a red card on Jacob Murphy, and could Tammy Abraham be offside? And so it can change the course of the games. The VAR will probably give you more realistic and probable outcomes by using it than not. But it was lovely just not to have that go into VAR, waiting, is the goal going to be a goal? And just that human error. And actually, linesmen and referees now, they're pretty decent at their jobs. The linos particularly, I think some referees are questionable, crikey, but linos are generally very, very well trained and very good at knowing whether it's offside or not. And if they get the odd one wrong, it speeds up the game. Do we need VAR? I know as soon as we wanted, technology was there, we were all saying we need it and make the game better. But I just thought it was lovely without it in the FA Cup. And, I'd like to see it maybe not being in the Premier League, because I think football in this country and the way that we want English spectators and the kind of their passion and living for the moment of the goal just going in, not them waiting and having to celebrate again. And I just think it would be better for the game if we had no VAR. But let us know your thoughts as well. Like, comment and subscribe. Let us know. If you think VAR is a better thing, let me know. If you think it's not and it needs to go out, let us know. But I think I'm in the camp where I'd say we don't want VAR. Me as a professional, as a fan, going to a game, watching the professionals, I don't want it to go back to VAR in a crowd and then wait for the decision. I'd rather it was just goal or no goal, human error. But yeah, that's my thoughts on VAR. It was just lovely not to have it. Another couple of bits, couple bits of news and things to go through before we round up the midweek games to finish the episode. But the first one is now an interesting one. I don't know if it's because of Tottenham or Nottingham Forest or, maybe another bigger club needing a manager soon. But Thomas Tuchel signing a contract till 2028. Now, I think he's doing a great job, and I think he's done really well. I think we look, he's not had masses of great opposition to play yet, but what he has done is he's made us look good. Players look like they've got the handbrake off, and we kind of dispatch teams really comfortably. I think it was a game away in Serbia recently where we have struggled sometimes in Serbia in recent history, where that was the type of nation that would give us a real hard, difficult place to go, and we just blew them away like 5-0. And he's getting the best out of players, and he's not just picking players on name. He's not afraid to drop people, and he picks it on merit, which I think in the long run is good for England. That he's created a culture where you've got to really earn your shirt, you've got to earn your call up, and he leaves players on their toes. Like, you've got to perform for your club if you want to get to this World Cup. But the only thing I would say maybe slightly concerning is we've done it before where we've given a manager a contract after a major tournament, and if the major tournament does go tits up, then are we looking silly that now we've got this guy until 2028? But I can understand the contract being offered. I can understand, him accepting it. But he's doing a good job. But yeah, I'm pleased with it. I think he's doing a great job. And he will do a good job for England, whether we win the World Cup or not. Again, like we've said, football's unpredictable. We don't know. I'm sure they'll get out to America early to acclimatise and be ready to go. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting bit of news, a good bit of news for English football, I think. And, he's proven to be a good manager. I think he'll carry on being a good manager. And then leading on from that, a real debate is one that's cropped up there. I think it's good enough to debate. We do the verses, don't we? This player better than this player. We've put a little bit of a slight little twist on it today and just said, okay, instead of just doing player versus player, let's do in a specific role. So if we look at the England number 10 role, behind the striker, behind who is going to be that main guy behind Harry Kane. Now, I believe it's between currently two players, really. And, you might say, no, this player might play further back in midfield and Foden might be going there, but Foden I've not put in the equation. Who is the better current player to play the number 10 behind the striker for England? And I've gone with Rodgers of Villa or Bellingham of Real Madrid. Now, it's a really difficult one. It's a difficult one to come on and speak about because Bellingham's obviously class, playing at Madrid, and a lot of people put him up here, and he has been a great player, and he's done. I don't think he's quite having the season that the standard that he's had in the past. Tuchel's left him out, and there was a bit of a debate: does he not fancy him, or was that a bit of a lesson to no, not just everyone's going to get in this squad. You got to earn your right, but I just think Rodgers has been unbelievable for Villa and England, and I think he has to be the person in the pole position at the moment. Would I go as far as saying he's better than Bellingham? You can't say that, but I actually think they're different number 10s if they're going to play there. I think Bellingham can drive, but I actually prefer Bellingham a bit deeper. I think Rodgers is actually the better technical player. He can drive both ways. He really can accelerate with the ball. I think he's a better finisher from distance. He's a bit more creative. He's just a different... He gives us something different to anybody that we've got. He's different to a Foden. He's different to a Gordon. He's different to a Saka. And I just think for me, he's got the shirt. He should keep the shirt. And I think the first game in America, I would rather see Rodgers in the team than Bellingham if it's going to be in that role. Whether Bellingham plays deeper and he goes with a 2 behind with Anderson. But for me, if you're saying Rodgers or Bellingham for England number 10 role, for me it's Morgan Rodgers all day long, and he gets my shirt. And I hope he gets Tuchel's shirt because I think he deserves it. He's having a cracking season and he should be playing. So Morgan Rodgers in the 10 role for me. Another thing that we must bring up just before we move on to any predictions for the midweek games. James Milner. All right, he's just equalled the Premier League record for appearances. Now, great career, can't knock him, played at the highest level, represented England, did some great years at Liverpool. He's been to a few clubs in his career. He's if I'm missing out, Brighton, Newcastle, Leeds, obviously where he started, and he's had an unbelievable career. And I remember hearing years ago when I was in football is somebody knew a coach at Liverpool who I knew, and said that he would always come back in pre-season the fittest, sharpest, like the ultimate professional. Like, you've never heard a bad word said about him, have we, in the press or anything? And he would just like come back on the first day when they'd all come back to running, and all the players would be like throwing up, put on weight, flagging, and Milner would just be lapping them like total professional. So it's no surprise that hard work, dedication, fitness, looked after himself as culminated in an unbelievable career of appearances. The question is, does he go down as a Premier League great? You can't put him in the icon category. He's not that sort of player. But I think if you're going to be the record holder and you've had a career at that, I think he does go down as a Premier League great. And I think, he's a Hall of Famer, isn't he? We've got this new... He will go into that, and he has to go into that, I think, for the appearances. But just want to say, amazing career. I've watched him for a number of years, and, he's been a dogged, hard player to play against. And I think his best years were probably at Liverpool, if my memory serves me right. And they'll all be shouting for him like, yeah, class player, love James Milner. But yeah, well done to him. I think he's about to go and break it. But I didn't want to do this episode without bringing up that James Milner is doing something very special and has done something very special in his career. So well done, James Milner. I think you're going to dethrone Gareth Barry and be the top appearance maker. And just a little one that I'm probably going to leave till the next episode. I might just intro it, actually, and then we'll leave it and talk about it more in the next episode when I've got a bit more time. But just a little question for you to think about, and I'll come back on episode 10 and we'll talk about this a bit more. But if you can let me know any thoughts that you've got on it. Do we think the over-tactical nature of the Premier League and English football is stifling creativity? Okay, that's the question. Now, I'm not going to say too much more on it now, all right? But it's one to think about, and we'll revisit it. Is the tactical nature and the over-tactical nature now of these magnets and doing this and plus ones and looking for gaps and coming back into midfield and recycle, is it preventing the creativity of, are we losing players that can go forward, play forward, attack forward, like the wingers we said the other week, attack forward? So yeah, it's a big one. Yes or no? Let us know your thoughts. And now we're going to wrap up with the midweek games. Now, something we've got to do, like I've said at the beginning, we're going to have to delve into the Championship because there is obviously no Premier League games this week. We've got some Championship games, a couple of them, and some European games, and then the Premier League returns on the weekend. But do you know what? It's nice. I like the Championship. It's good to delve in the Championship. On this channel, we are going to start delving into the Championship and League One and League Two and the National League a little bit more and give a few more chuck-ups and predictions in those leagues. Because, they're all so many fans of those clubs that like to come on YouTube and, hopefully come on Football with Life and hear about, what I think of how their team's doing. So, okay, we have midweek ones in the Championship. We have a really good game, actually. The first one is Bristol City v Wrexham. Wrexham are flying. Bristol City obviously got off to an amazing start. Have levelled out a little bit. Got rid of a few decent players. I think January replaced, so little bit more transitional. But Wrexham just keep rolling on. They've done so well. I thought they would do well. I didn't think they would have that much money to spend as they have, but obviously some, a lot of sponsorship money coming in from America through Ryan Reynolds, and the manager's done an amazing job. He's got an amazing record of getting them up through the divisions, and he's proven as a manager that you can do it at this level. Can they go all the way and get in the Premier League through the playoffs? It's, we've got Coventry v Middlesbrough tonight. It's a massive game in the Championship, but I'm not going to be predicting that one just before kick-off. But we'll look at Bristol City v Wrexham. Now, I do believe that Bristol City are good clubs, good players, good team. Like, you wouldn't back against them usually at home, but I just think Wrexham are on fire, and I think Wrexham will continue to be on fire. So I'm going to go for Bristol City 1, Wrexham 2. Okay, and then the other game in the Championship, just double check, is Charlton, who have done decent under Nathan Jones. They're doing all right. They've had a few wobbles, didn't they, and had a little period where they struggled, but they've come good, and he's done well, and they're really giving it a go. And Pompey, another side that come up a couple of seasons ago and stayed up and looking to stay. It's hard in that Championship if you've not got like a top six budget and a lot of money these days. You've got clubs spending millions on players. Like 10 million now is like, bat an eyelid at it. Years ago, 10 million in the Championship would have been, the record. I think it might have been Stansfield for Birmingham, but more teams now spending between, like 8 and 12 million. We've heard Wrexham going for players for 20 million from France. You've got to have money, and if you haven't got money in the Championship, it's a brutal league, and you'll find yourself down back in League One. So, Charlton v Portsmouth. I think it's a perfect. A lot of draws on normally during midweek in the Championship. It's a good one to back the draws in the Championship on a Tuesday night or Wednesday night. So if you can find the draws, sometimes they're good to back. So I'm going Charlton 1, Portsmouth 1. And then we move on to the Premier League. We've got, Premier League, Champions League and the Europa Leagues. The Champions League is a funny one because it gets spread out now over the blocks of weeks, and we play these games, and they're all not playing, and Newcastle have obviously got their playoff, first leg and second leg against Qarabag, and they're away to Qarabag this week. Now I think they would have been delighted with the draw, and I do fancy them. I think that win on Saturday, the win against Tottenham, it's big for confidence going into the Champions League, and they look at home more in the Champions League this year than they have in the Premier League at times. So I fancy them to go to Qarabag and get a good lead before they come back to England and see it through. So I'm going Qarabag 0, Newcastle 2. And then the two games in Europe, one in the Europa and one in the Conference. A really, really tough one, the hardest one for English teams this week but without a doubt. And Victor Pereira's first game in charge of Forest. We haven't talked about Pereira and Igor Tudor. I'm going to have to do that on Thursday. I do think it's probably a good time to come in and maybe get a tune out of players. Players might be happy that Dyche's gone, but I just think Fenerbahce is one of the hardest places. You hear interviews of ex-players, managers, one of the hardest places, hardest countries to go, most intimidating atmospheres. And I just think Forest just might come up short. Not to say the tie's over there. They could then come at home and win by 2 or 3 in the second leg, I think. Because I don't think Fenerbahce will travel as well as they will at home. But just in that cauldron at home, I just fancy him to get off to a good start in the tie. But I think Forest will still be in it. So I'm going to go with Fenerbahce 2, Nottingham Forest 1. But Forest still plenty of meat on the bone to get back. And then, pardon the pronunciation, I've had a little look at them. Zrinski against Crystal Palace. Not going to go sit on this. Palace, they're a funny team. We don't know, and it's not the easiest place to go. But I think they'll come away with a draw, bring it back to London, and get through the tie. So Zrinski 1, Crystal Palace 1. All right, that wraps up the episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, people. Right, stay safe out there. I'll be back with an episode later in the week, okay, to drop for the weekend. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've loved coming on. Be good. I'll see you soon. Bye.